at home. This is me, Murphy Ojo, again on the air. You are all welcome to my program, Bits and Pieces with Murphy Ojo. Tonight, we really don't have much for ourselves. We have loads, but not much. If we could remember, we started with duty of care. Duty of care back to auto report if there are any issues. And I said last week, hopefully, I might come with something like dementia or medication. So I've decided to go with medication because I believe it will help us one way or the other. It's not easy. Let me give you the overview of what we've done for the last two weeks. As I said, I started this program just to support my colleague in social care, mainly within domiciliary care sector. That is what some of you call home care sector, that you go to the houses, to client houses to attend to them. That's what I want us to look into. So, because I believe there have been a bit of issue here and there around that domiciliary care setup. It's not that people don't really do what they're supposed to be doing, but just that we're not really, I don't know, I believe we just don't, I can't say we don't get it, but most of the time it's because of our attitude. And sometimes it's even the genuine mistakes that we do. But just to avoid it, from making the same mistake, that's why I created this program. 2 weeks ago, I started with duty of care, that we owe ourselves duty of care. No matter what you do, wherever we are, when we go to our client's house, it might not be in our care plan, fine. But if you know that it can lead to neglect of that client, you have to report it to your organization, to your superior staff. Okay, this is what is happening. That is when I cite different kind of an example. But you've got to report when you see maybe the clients, the environment is not habitable. It's your duty to report it to your office. It might not be in your care plan to do it. They're not saying you should do it, as I said that day. But just to make sure you report it. And last week, and maybe they don't, no, let me continue with that. Maybe they did not have enough food. You still have to report it. Maybe the family are not treating them very well. You still have to report it. Whatever you see, you have to report it back to your organization that is wrong. Sometimes it's something that, okay, you just have to help. Maybe there is nobody that helped them to clean their house. There's nobody that helped them to do the shopping, all the stuff. And it's not part of your support plan. Just pick up your phone. I don't think this man have got somebody who is helping him or her to buy food or to clean their distance. So this needs to be picked up before it turns to another thing. Then last week, I jumped into how to report it, because sometimes you're saying you're reporting it, but you're reporting it wrongly, which can cause an issue. And something that is cause an issue, that can cause an issue is as good as you've not reported it. And you can be charged for neglect, one way or the other, because the first point of contact with that client is you, the carer. It's not that you guys are not doing the job. As I said almost every week, that I always give it to every one of you guys there, because you're doing a great job. It's not easy to be a carer. It's not easy to be going up and down to be doing your job. It's not easy. Rain, shine, cold, every time you go out there to do your job. But when you go out to do your job, try to do your job very well. I like that this phrase, what's worth doing at all is what's worth doing well. If you leave your house, you go out there to do the job, fine. Sometimes people say because you are not trained. I've seen a lot of people that are well trained. Because it's one thing to be trained, it's another thing to accept that training. And it's one thing to even receive that training, accept it, and be able to carry out your job. And most of the time is, as I said earlier when I first started this program, it's about our attitude. I don't know the reason why, we have this kind of attitude that there's no big deal there. I can do it. People shouldn't worry about anything, which is fine. But Your attitude can affect your job. Positive attitude will affect your job positively, and negative attitude will affect your job negatively. So don't let me waste time. You must make sure you report it. When you report it, most of you care what you do is that you write it in communication record sheet, which, and you thought or you think you've already reported it. You've not reported anything. It's there. That communication record sheet will not leave that house until almost maybe it's already full. When it is full, and it can take sometimes it depends on the time, how many calls that you have. It can take months, it can take weeks before it's fill up. So now imagine something that needs to be acted on within a day or two, now getting to your office after about a month or even 2-3 weeks. That is already late. That's what I said. It's one thing to say that I've reported. That is most of the thing I always hear when I see that kind of a thing. And I said, but I put it in my communication record sheet. Come on. Am I going to jump, or I don't know how to put it, to be able to see what is your communication record sheet. Another thing most of the carer does is just to text into an on-call, which is an out-of-hour phone, when something needs to be picked up in an hour, during the office hour. So how will we be able to pick this thing up? So you've got to call your superior staff, your coordinator, your manager, and they reported it. And I also mentioned how you can go ahead if your coordinator did nothing about a day or 2 or 3, and you know it's very, very important. You report it to your line manager, which might be your register manager. And then from there on, what if they've done nothing to you, which really happened? So far you report to them, except if, as I normally call them rogue organization, except that somebody must have picked it up. Then from there, it can lead to maybe you report to social services, or to even, it might be NHS, it might be the police. Yeah, you have the right. I told you last week. Then that is that. As I said, this week, I want to talk about medication, how to administer medication. I am talking solely about domiciliary care setup, because in residential or nursing home, for you to make a mistake, it might take a bit of carelessness. Because if you make a mistake, somebody must have picked it up immediately. Somebody must have picked it up either immediately or the next day. By the time they start review, either you're one of the nursing or one of the managers, somebody must pick it up to say that, okay, this is not correct, this is not looking good, all this stuff. But in domiciliary care setup, you have some of the marshal, that is medication administration report chart, can take. Some of them, some organization uses a week, some organization using a month. Imagine using a month and you continue to make the mistake for that month. What would have happened? So that is why I try to, what steps you need to put in place for you as a carer to be able to make sure that, okay, you're on top of your job. The first thing is the training. You just have to have the training. And it's not enough to have the training without being able to apply whatever you have in your training, because sometimes, because of our attitude, of national attitude, the steppings that the steps that we need to take in apply that medications, because there are about few steps that you need to take, which is the easiest thing to do, and still need to go to a client, we will focus so much on what comes into our pocket, rather than doing the job well and go to another client to do our job. We always, before we get to one client, we've been thinking of another client to jump in there, which is not that really good. So you have to receive your training. And this is why I said what I'm going to go through is not training. So when you want to apply medication, what are the things that you need to know? The first thing you need to know is the regulations that guided you in administering your medication or prompting your client. You've got to know the law that guided what kind of medication are you using by the government. I think recently they changed about, in the Medication Act, I think it was about manufacturing of medicine because of the Brexit. That's what happened about maybe in 2019, December, or either December, November. That was when they had that change. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about medication administration in domiciliary care setting. So you have to know regulations that guide you. Something like the Misuse of Drug Act, 1971, sorry. You've got to know, like COSH, control of sometimes hazardous to health. So you've got to know all those regulations that guide what you're doing. And then another thing that you need to know is just the policies and procedures of your organization. Very, 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 very important. That if you work in company A, and this is the way they do it, does not mean they will do it in company B like that. They might be doing the same thing. They might be doing the same job. They might be in the same field. That doesn't mean they will have to do, they are doing things in the same way. It's one thing, you know the regulations. Another thing is policies and procedures. I'll give you an example. If some of the domiciliary care setup, if a medication is not in blister pack, they will never prompt it. Though nice policy said they should have to take it for the first period, maybe about a week or two that they've started a package. I mean a care package. So they can give, because at that particular point in time, client leave the hospital, medication is everywhere. Before the GP now send a referral to, what's the name, to the pharmacist in order to make it, to put it in the blister pack. It might take time. That can maybe about a week, but you must make sure you're on your on needs to make sure that, okay, it's in blister pack, if that is your policy. So if your organization says, okay, we don't prompt or administer medication that is not in blister pack, and you don't know the policy of the company where you're coming from, said whether in blister pack or non blister pack, we give it. And you come down and instead of doing what you are not supposed to be doing, you're on your own when there's a problem. You're on your own. You're on your own. Because they will tell you, because most of this policy, when you started in your induction, they must have relayed to you. But when you are not clear, please call any one of your supervisors to ask them, what is the policy in doing this? What is the policy in doing that? They will tell you. So you've got to know the policy of your organization very, very well. That, okay, we don't take medication. There are organizations that does everything. They do, whether in blister pack or does everything. So imagine they do everything, and where you're coming from, they only prompt or administer from blister pack. And then you said, okay, that is not my job. And then with time, they realize that you can be fired. You can be fired. They will tell you, they've already tell you this or those everything. So from policy, there is local policy, the local authority policy where they are. But I don't think you have an issue with this one, because your organization must have incorporated this one into their own policy. They must have married the policies together to make sure that by the time they give it to you, it's exactly what they want you to be doing on the field. So the regulations, you must know it perfectly. Perfectly. And then what's the name? What's the name? The policy and procedure of your organization too, you must know it. And you must apply it correctly. You don't just give medication that is not supported by your organization. In doing that, you are putting your organization in problem, but not only your organization, you are putting yourself in massive, massive problem. And that is what I want you to know. Then once you know all this, they are by the wayside. That's why I said this is not a training. This is just bits and pieces. What you should know, at least to be able to go into a client's house and be bold enough that, okay, I want to give medication to my clients. I'll be able to give medication without any problem, without any issue, without even raising your eyebrow. I know today might not be enough. Even it's going to take us 3 weeks, 2 weeks to finish this. I will go through it, and I will let you know what you need to know. Then, to go on normal level, I will, because I said this is not training. You then know the categorization of the medication. When you do training, they will tell you. That is it general medication? Is it over-the-counter medication? Is it home remedy kind of a thing? That is where your policy also comes in, because if you have a medication, if you have this thing that is telling you you should not, I underline, your policy of your organization, you shouldn't administer home remedy. And you went ahead and do it, then you mess, you immense in serious mess. If any problem should occur, even if there is no problem, but you have to be careful. Then let's say you then come to the situation of the rights. Some people call it how many rights? 6 rights, 7 rights, 100, 10 rights, 14 rights. I mean, what you have to look for when you administer medication. I will tell you, because all these things, care normally just overlook it. They don't even see it as anything. They just overlook it as, okay, I'm here, I just want to pop up the medication, and then they'll give it, and then boom. Ask them all this right. When I say the right, I mean the way you administer medication, what you've got to follow, what you have to do. Like, you must make sure that the medication you are giving is for the right service user. You might be thinking there's no problem in this one. I will tell you how. I was opportuned to have this experience within the same field that I am now, where a carer made this massive blunder. Massive blunder. She happened to be a well-experienced carer. Well-experienced. When I say experienced, well-experienced, well-trained. She was even a nurse before she, because of family reasons, stepped down just to be having the time around herself and just be supporting to do some care job, some part-time job around the house. She was the one that requested for the medication review, because she realized that, okay, this medication is not working anymore. She ought to have changed the medication. She called the GP, she got every office involved, everybody involved, the GP involved. And the GP also realized that, okay, she was correct with her observation. And this medication was changed. So the GP told her, the office, and told her to go there together, and then we will send another batch of medication, referral to the pharmacist, and pharmacist will deliver it for you, which was fine. 2 days later, this was done. She came in, and then she saw the medication there. Okay, they've delivered this medication without checking the name on the medication. But there was a mistake. When they brought in the medication and give it to the warden in the house, the pharmacist that came actually asked for, okay, deliver the medication to the warden, and started talking about another client. They started talking about for another client within that home for about maybe 10, 20 minutes. And by the time the warden wanted to go and put the medication in the room, it was the client they were talking about, and it was totally wrong client. She just dumped it there and then went back. When she went in, which happened to be her own client, she thought, okay, that was the medication that they've already delivered, that they had a review of, without checking the name, and they started giving the medication. And it was for another client of that home. A telephone call after about maybe 3 days or 4 days. They made it a telephone call from the home to our own office, which I picked. And I realized that the person at the other side was in this form of distress for the other. And I said, okay, what was the problem? She explained to me, and I said, okay. She was trying to explain, but I realized that the voice, everything was actually just shaking. I said, okay, give me a few minutes, I will be in your office. I said 1 hour. She said, no, that 1 hour will be too much. And I was shocked. What's the problem? What happened to the client? Is there anything happened? So I quickly ran down with my manager. On getting there, the manager was in the car. So I went there and I had to resolve it. When I got there and they explained, okay, I realized that, okay, this is a massive problem. So I took control of the whole situation by making sure that, okay, we need to call the necessary people. I mean, the ambulance, everybody, or just which I did. First, there was telephone assessment on the person that was taking another person's medication. the person that actually owned the medication was on dialysis, which is even the worst. But because he still have enough medication for even almost 2 weeks, he just requested for that medication a bit earlier. That was why, okay, that one, the problem there, I've solved. So let's focus on the person that was actually taking someone else's medication. Where I'm going is not being able to check the name, just thinking that whatever you see in one's room belongs to one. No, that person might be the only one that is living there. You don't know what is happening. Somebody might even want deliberately just change that medication to cause harm for that particular client. You don't know. So that's why you've got to change against the name. Check, okay, is this the medication that I'm holding? The blister pack that I'm holding does it even belong to this client? You check the name and the name is there. Fine. Then at the end of the day, let me quickly finish the story. And all the checks, everything, all the stuff, I received safeguarding, and I will ask people to safeguarding all those everything. Yeah, and that was it. But she was in problem. Immediately, she was suspended. She started losing money. So she didn't know where it will end for her or for anybody. But we actually tackled it the way we should tackle it. That was that. Then you must make sure that it's the right medicine. You have your marshal. Okay, this is the name of the medication. So you have to make sure that the medication you are giving, because sometimes pharmacists make mistakes. They do. When they deliver wrong person's medication to another person. They do. Sometimes they give. Sometimes too, it's not that they even made mistake. Sometimes you might see a medication with different name. But the problem is that they have different maker. Sometimes it does happen. But that is what you've got to check. Is it the right thing or is it not the right thing? So far you are able to check this and then you check, is it the right dose? Is it the right dose? It's not that they said 5 milligrams and then they've said 50 milligrams or 50 milligrams. Then that is overdose. That's overdose. That is your job to do. That's what you have to do, being a carer. But 9 times out of 10 times of our carer, you know yourself. Because of, you're always, I can't say time cautious. You're always rushing. I can't say that's time cautious. Because sometimes when I hear all these mistakes here and there, sometimes I just take a step back and I think, how could that one happen? That is almost impossible. But it is possible. Anybody, I can't say anybody, if you know your stuff very well. That's what I said. It's one thing you're well trained. It's another thing you follow the guidelines of your training. So people, we still get to the few bits and pieces of, when you get to manual handling, in medication and manual handling, that is where people may lose some mistakes. And most of you care, instead of you, to now, there is what they call duty of conduct. There is a way, I will go, when we get into the thick of all these things, this particular program, I believe people realize what I'm saying. And I hope to be bringing people in too, to talk to you. It's just to help ourselves. I don't want you to go out there after you've run around. To be a domiciliary care is not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. Walking around, running after buses, those people who even walk outside London is even worse. It's even worse. So you can't be putting in that kind of an effort in the wrong way. You've already decided, okay, this is what I want to do. Once you've decided this is what I want to do it very well. Yeah, there are a few genuine mistakes. But sometimes genuine mistakes is as a result of us not just being a bit concentrating on what we are doing. Yeah. When I was talking about that one of duty of care, it wasn't her fault. It wasn't. She actually did whatever she needs to do. It was just an unfortunate thing. But on this occasion, it was her fault. She is well experienced. When she talks to you, when she gets to an environment of care setup, she will tell you what needs to be put in place. And she made that mess of that medication on that day. So you must make sure it's the right route. They don't tell you it's oral and you continue to apply. They don't tell you you insert and you continue to tell them to swallow. So you have to make sure that it is the right route. It is the right route. So, and another one is the right time. Like somebody with diabetes that needs to eat very early, other stuff. And at the end of the whole day, you get to your client 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock to give somebody with diabetes when they've already written in on this, and that's the right time. So you shouldn't put yourself in a mess. And if problem occurs in this thing, how do you defend yourself? How do you defend yourself? How do you do that? And make sure that it is with the right documentation. You document it in a right way. If you are applying cream, you have your topical marker to document it on. You don't just, I've put it in most of the time you see care to say that I put it in a communication record sheet. Sometimes I just look at it. What is the meaning of having marker in that house? If you can't use marker, if you've never seen marker before, or you've been trained in marker, but the people will be telling you the marker we're using different. It's okay. But in your induction, they actually put you through this marshal. During that time, what you guys are doing, that I've done that one before. There's no problem about that one. And when you get it, you will not be looking, what's this? And the same is the same thing. There are boxes. This is the one that you have to follow. But this is part of the training. And as I said, part of our own attitude too. Because we have this kind of attitude that have to know, too big to fail, I'm too experienced than that coordinator. I've been in this job before I even joined the job. But that, because he or she has the money to open care company. I've been in this job before we even started to go into the job. That is not the main thing. Your children can be far, far better than you. Far, far better. Far, 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 far better. And as I said earlier on when I first started this topic, this feed is a very dynamic feed that changes every time. Things changes every time. There are a lot of reviews that take place every time. That is why your policies, procedures, regulations, everything, you've got to be on top of it. Or else, when you made a mistake, and your mistake is fatal, it can lead to anywhere. And if you don't follow policy and procedure of your organization, my dear, you're on your own. You're on your own. I've seen a carer that was, normally I usually audit communication record sheet and then mash out monthly. I've already audited the mash out based on the medication that we knew that the person was going on with. GP has come to visit the man. GP visited the man, changed some medication, which they're supposed to have related to us, which they did not. And the carer who's supposed to be our main person there did not even report it to us. He just complied with whatever they asked him to be doing as being big senior carer and started doing whatever. I was reviewing that thing at the end of the month and I realized that when I saw on my chart, it seemed that everything was fine with what we have there on the medication, tick, fine. And on the communication record sheet, I started seeing another medication. I said, what is this? What's this? And I called. What's going on? This is what I saw. That should be in communication in my chart. So, but you started writing this in communication. When did we do this thing? And there was no call. So there was a day they came down here and they said I should be giving that one to. I just started giving. And where did you write it on the marshal? I don't need to write, I put it in my communication record sheet. It was like, I actually pull him out on that day. And I said, one, you didn't send yourself to that place. Somebody sent you there to work there. So you must feed somebody back. Though I will still call the GP, who later apologized for not directing, but she expected the carer to inform us, to give us the feedback, which was right. But they still need to let us know. They cannot just do it in an isolation, which was they did. But our representative, just our own person, which we believe that should be our representative there, actually messed up. I said, with all this training, everything given to you, with all, if me shouting on you that, okay, this is how you should be reporting every day, every second when you see something new, and you see all that one to yourself. And it was like, at the beginning, until he was removed from the job, he didn't see it as anything bad. He sees it as, what's the big deal? So meaning, whatever we want, if you want to defend that thing, won't be able to defend. That is not good enough. That is one of those little things that will make a mistake with. And the one I want to mention last is the right to refuse. The client actually have the right to refuse their medication. Number one, maybe they're not feeling well. They wake up in a very bad mood. They could refuse it. You don't need to force them to take them. Okay, they have to take their medication by all means, all this everything. You just need to document it. You just need to document it. When you document it, everything will be all right. You document it. If we then realize that this thing continues, then we escalate it from there. So that is how it works. As I said, this is going to be a massive topic. Not massive, by maybe next week or what, we should be able to. And I will show you Marshall, how you can film Marshall, what you need to take here and there, how do you need to fill it up. So I will be stopping on this where I am now. But what I want to say is that just know what you're doing. Know your regulation, know your policy and procedures, know the type of medication you are giving, and then it might be, they call it 7 rights, some even have 10 rights, some even have 11 rights. What you need to check for when you're administering medication. Then we continue from next week. Just do the right thing, and I believe things will be better. Until next week, from me, Murphy Ojo, see ya. Bye.